So let's understand what is JavaScript variable in this session. Okay, when I say JavaScript variable, what is the meaning of variable and what we need to do? Variable is nothing but where I can store my data. Okay, so as I said in previous session, when I want to store one integer value, let's 40 I want to store somewhere and 20 I want to store somewhere, then I want to sum it up. Okay, then I create a variable in Apex and store it. So same way in JavaScript, if I want to do this, how can I do it? Simply. So whenever I'm creating a variable in Apex, so what is the syntax I use? I use data type, then your variable name. Then you can do some initialization if need. Okay, so like if I want to create an integer variable, my data type is integer, variable name equal to a, then 40. So same way if I want to do in JavaScript, what I am going to do, variable nothing but it's a named storage for data container, data or container for storing my data value. Let's see, I have a name to store. So I have a name which I want to store Devasis as a name. So now if I want to store it, how I can do? That means there is some variable I will create which is going to use my local storage. If you remember, I have explained about the local storage, how my data is going to be stored. Data on the client side going to be stored in local storage. I am going to create a local storage for my name to be stored on the browser. Okay, and with this name I can have some logic on it. Okay, maybe I will display the name, or I can take the some kind of numbers, I can do the sum of. So how I'm going to do it? So whenever I say variable, it's nothing but some kind of data I'm going to store, and what type of data I can store, that comes as a data type. Simply I can say it's nothing but a data type. And a data type, we have different type of data type in JavaScript, which we'll talk in the next session. But for now, whenever I want to create a variable, I have three different kind of keyword which will help me to create any variable. One I can say as a var keyword, one I can say as a let keyword, and one I can say as a const keyword. I'll explain the difference between these, what this and when I'm going to use it. For now, just remember we have three different kind of keyword which I can use to create a variable. So I can use either let, var, and also const. Const nothing but for the constant to create any constant value to store, which cannot be changed later in the logic. I can use a const, like you can say final value which I'm going to store. Okay, so when I say var, it's nothing but global scope, and let nothing but a block scope. It means, let's consider I'm just going to write one alert name inside the script. Okay, so now this name is not defined here. After a few lines, I defined as var name. So that is syntactically correct. But whenever I use any Apex programming, if you see here, let's say I define integer a equal to 40, b equal to 20, and later I define my integer a equal to 40. If I try to execute, it's a illegal assignments, all these stuffs. Okay, it's not allowing me to do it. Okay, it's they used before but declared later. Okay, so it should be inside here. Okay, so if I execute, it will allow to execute. And let's consider I'm going to create one Apex class in the scope where we can define. Let's see, I have a new Apex class. Let's see sample variable, so that will easily map how I'm going to use in JavaScript. Okay, so let's consider I have a function here, public void get data. Okay, and let's consider I have a variable here called as integer a, and I have another function. Let's see, public void check data, and here I am going to access the system.debug. Let's consider a. Now if you see, if I save it, let me save it. Okay, okay, now what going to happen, the a value what I have here, it's not declared inside here. So my A is declared in this method. You can see variable does not exist here. So now to explain you the scope. So the A what I declared here, it will be accessible inside this method only. So that means inside this block only my A can be accessible. It's nothing but the variable what I declared. It's block, only in the block I can access. We can say same thing, something like, let me show you here. It's a block scoped. Okay. Now same way if I go to declare one value, let's consider I'm going to declare a value something called integer b. Somewhere here I have written an integer b. Okay, which is nothing but declared as globally. So anything inside this class can be used. If I try to write system.debug b, so now if I try to save. So now this is, let me see, let me comment out this here. Now it's getting saved. You can see the b what I declared, it's globally available to all. It's a global specifier. So same way, when I defined any variable with a var keyword, it will be globally scoped. But when you declare anything as a let keyword, it's a block scope. Let's see what it means. Okay, then we will see in more detail about my JavaScript variables. So I am in a page. Let me go to my page here, or I can write in my development tool here directly. Let's consider the name what I have declared here. I'm going to use the alert statement before to it. I have declared my alert here. Okay, alert name, and then I have declared my variable. And as I said, whenever I want to declare a variable, I can use var, and then the name, the variable name, then what value I want to store. So now I have stored a string type of value or text type of value. So name type will be automatically set as a string type. Okay, so now if I try to save it, now let's see what is going to happen. Okay, automatically one alert statement came, device is here. Okay, so because the uh, name variable what I have as a global specifier, so I'm going to get it. So if I specify as a let, now I try to save it. See, now I'm not getting any log, any alert statement. If I see my console, to open this console, simply I right click, I click on the inspect. So now if you see here, I'm getting uncut reference error, cannot access name before initializations. This is the one difference you can see. So using var, you can declare your variable anywhere in the script, and it can be accessible anywhere. You may declare after its uses, or you can declare before to its uses. And let is a variable declaration mechanism which will be specific to a specific block, not completely. Its access will be specific to a block. If it's declared, then it can be used. For example, if I put this alert statement letter to this let, if I save it, now if you see, I got my statement here. Okay. Now if you see, I will not get any kind of statements. Let me clear it. Simply, I can clear it right now. Okay. Now if I try to refresh this page, now you see you will not get any kind of error message what we have shown you before. See, nothing but the small difference between this let and var. So whenever you want to declare a variable, what you can do, either you can use let statement or var statement and a const statement to store my value. For example, on this example, I'm going to do the sum of two numbers. I'm declaring two variable var number one, let's equal to 10, and I'm declaring another variable number two as 20. Okay, now let's see, I want to sum it off. Okay, I want to use some operators. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I simply use this, sorry, I'm simply using the alert, then I'm using number one plus number two, for example. Let me save it. How it going to display for us now? Let me see. Okay, see, it come 30. So that means number one is a value for me, Here you can see number 1 is a variable which stores the 10, and when I store this integer type of number, that means number 1 became my integer type of variable. Same as number 2, another variable where store 20. So number 2 became an integer type of variable. Depending on what type of value I am storing, my variable will be that type. I mean, then I do the some kind of operations, number 1 plus number 2. I'll talk about what kind of operator we are supporting in JavaScript, but for now, simply mathematical sum operation I used, number 1 plus number 2. Then this alert statement going to display me the result 30. For example, let's consider I am going to instead of number 2 as 20, I am going to use as some string. Let's see the basis. I click on the cell. Now what going to happen? Let me see. So now see, it's concatenate 10 and the basis, because uh, my var not specify, okay, number 2 can store what type of data, but depending on what kind of data I store, my variable will fall in that type. So now if it's a 10, my number 1 becoming integer, and if it's some kind of name or string, my number 2 become a string type. So when I do integer plus string, it's nothing but doing my concatenating two variable. Okay, if it's a automatically it understand what type of variable it is, and based on that it will do the operations what we do. Okay, so let me show you one more thing here. Okay, so anytime you want to declare a variable, you can simply use var or let. See, both the things are the same, only the difference for the scope. It may be global scope or my block scope, on which block it's declared. Okay, so if you see here, you can use let or var, anything. And also one more thing, let me show you. In this same line, I have declared my variable and I stored I have initialized my data on that. Let's consider I'm declaring a variable. For example, let's see course name. Okay, and another variable I have declared as course duration. Okay, now I want to set the value. So now till the time now if I go on to do some alert on my course name, I didn't set any value. So what is going to happen? See, it's coming as undefined. So my data is not set anything here, because this variable what I have, I'm referring here, it's not defined till now what kind of value I'm going to store or anything. Now later if I want to store the name, let's see, I simply say my course name variable what I have created, I want to set it as JavaScript for Salesforce. Okay, or I can say my course duration, let's consider I'm going to set as 10 hours. Okay, now I'll do alert. Simply I'm doing alert as my course name, and let's see, I say alert as course duration. Now I just save it. Now if you see, I got first alert statement on line 10, which is nothing but course name. Till the time I didn't define, it come as undefined. Now I click on OK. Now you can see the course name JavaScript for Salesforce. Then I click OK. I can see 10 hours. So that means, see, what I'm trying to show here, like in Apex, what we do, we can declare my variable first, and later I can set my values. Let's see here, I'm going to set B as 10. We can do this way. Same way, whenever you want to declare a variable in JavaScript, you can declare as a var your variable name, and then later you can initialize whenever you need. Okay. So in the next, we'll see what are the different data type we are going to support in JavaScript. As we know, okay, when declaring a variable, I can use var, later const. So when I store the data, my type is set for that variable. Let's say message is a variable. I store hello. That means message is a string type. Age is a variable. When I store 25, so age becoming my integer type. So it's nothing but one variable will declare in one line, one variable, but still we can declare variable in multiple lines. For example, if I go to this one, instead of var course name and course duration, So I can declare in a single line. For example, see, if I do here course name equal to JavaScript for Salesforce, okay, then I put a comma, then I'm going to declare another variable. So simply I take this course duration as this. Let's I'm going to remove this, and I don't want to duration. Let me save it. Okay. Now you see my course name also came and my duration also came. So like this, in a single line also you can declare multiple type of variable. Okay, let's see, I want to have one integer. Let's course fee equal to, let's consider 50 or 500. Let me save it. Okay, let me put an alert for my course fee also. Simply I can put this variable as a course fee. Let me save and see how this output comes. And if you, anytime if you see your JavaScript not working properly, you can see here. Okay, so uncut syntax error, some unexpected identifier. If you see the console, if you have any JavaScript error, you can find it out here, and you can click on this, then you can see on which line you have error. Now you see I have declared course duration, then I didn't put any comma, and I declare another variable. So that's the error came. Simply you can your console, browser console, you can debug, and you can see what is the error you have. If you save it right now, now you can see your messages. Okay, so in the next session we will see more detail about data types, how data types plays a major role in my JavaScript. Thank you. Stay tuned for next session.